This is a 4-pinion differential. There are 4 pinions, one here, one here, one here, one here. They're held by one through pin that goes all the way through and 2 little half pins that sit here. In the center there's a square box with 4 holes in it that each of the pins go through to hold them from wobbling around in the middle. The pins themselves are held in place by drift pins. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. You can drive these drift pins out to inspect them. Put your 5/32 drift here, and something to support it underneath here. It's a little tall. I'll do that. There we go. Drive out the pins. Make sure you hit it square. Otherwise you'll break your file. Sometimes I've found that it's necessary to start the pin moving with a regular pin punch. And once it's moving, you can finish off with your file. Okay, here's the pin we've driven out. I'll show you it a little bit more in a second. And you can pull out the pin just by putting a screwdriver in. And once you've got it started, it's the same as the other one. Just pry it out a bit. Out it comes. Now, you can see here how it's shiny. That's where the pinion gear has been spinning on it. Now what happens with these little pins is they're sitting in the case like this. Every time you spin the tires, the pinion gear is twisting on the pin. So click, 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 click. You do this a lot. Eventually, it actually will shear this pin right here and right here. This thing will twist off. And then once it's sheared this, there's nothing holding the pin in place. So it's just sitting in here like this, loose. Well, eventually it works its way out here, works its way out here, and it's wailing around, and then suddenly it catches the side of the case, it rips it out of the side of the differential, and the pin typically comes out like this and goes flying through your transmission. That is how you're training grenades. So, don't do one-wheel peels. Now, you can also rebuild these by replacing the pins. You don't necessarily have to take the ring gear off. You can drive it out very carefully because the speedo gear is somewhat in the way. Okay, we'll put this one back in. Just leave it there for now. And I'll drive in this pin. Okay, you drive it out with a 5/32, as I said before, and you drive it back in with a 7/32. The reason is because the hole in the base of the diff where you drive it back in is much bigger than the hole at the bottom. And if you look in there, you can see that you drive them in till they're just about into the base of that much larger hole. Something like that. Now, let's take a look at the other side pin. As I said before, start it with a real punch, and then use your file, or unless you have a real drift punch. There's some banging on it. It's been starting to wear its way through. Not very serious though. So we'll do the same thing. Pop the pin out. Take a look. Now normally, obviously, you'd be putting back in new pins if you're taking apart your existing diff to rebuild it. You can see the same thing. You got wear. You can actually feel the groove there on the small little pin. Put it back in. Okay, and the final one, which is the one that tells the tale, is the main pin. Start it with a regular punch, as before. Finish it with your file. This one, the pin shows no wear at all, which is normal, because the differential side, or the pinion gears, are moving in opposite directions in this shaft, so they don't put any net force on the shaft. However, they do individually put force on the shaft themselves. So let's see what kind of wear we got here. And this one's not bad. I've seen shafts come out of these things where the differential side pins have actually broke, and there's a 1/16 of an inch of a groove on the shaft. Let's take a look at this one. It's shiny, and you can feel a wear mark right there. So what happens is the side, one is spinning this way, the other is spinning this way, so there's no net force on the pin, so it doesn't shear the little drift pin. But if you've got a lot of wear on this, obviously you need to replace it. Now, one thing that the other pins don't have is a little flat here where oil gets in to lubricate the shaft. So this one's not too bad, regardless of, notwithstanding the fact that the owner apparently did a burnout or two in his day. So we'll put that back in where it came from. There you go. And that's how you replace the differential pins and the standard differential if you can't afford to quaff at the moment. If you do your own clutch, I recommend that you take the time to take the transmission apart. Even if you inspect it and replace nothing, take a look at the pins. They're inexpensive to replace, and if you do your own clutch and you've got the time to do it, it's definitely good insurance. Okay.